There is a moment, quiet yet electric, when a woman lets you in not just into her body, but into her being. It is not a physical act alone, it is an act of trust, a silent agreement that says, I will let you see me where I am most unguarded. And what she feels in that moment is not simply pleasure, it's presence. It's the delicate dance between safety and surrender, between being taken and being seen. Emotional penetration beyond the physical is the essence of what true intimacy means. When a man enters a woman, it is not simply a biological act, it is an energetic and emotional exchange that goes far beyond the boundaries of flesh. In that moment, her body becomes a vessel of trust, her breath a whisper of permission, and her heart a compass guiding her into the unknown. For her, depth is not measured in inches, it is measured in intention. She feels whether the man before her is truly there or merely visiting. If he is present, fully grounded in the moment, she feels it in the way his touch lingers with care rather than demand. If he is detached, even slightly, she senses the absence like a shadow that interrupts her safety. When emotional connection is missing, her body may respond, but her spirit closes. She can feel the difference between being desired and being devoured. One is a connection that awakens her, the other is a transaction that drains her. What she craves is not the act itself but the meaning behind it, the feeling of being seen, honored, and received. When a man understands this, every movement becomes a form of communication. His silence says, I'm here. His patience says, you're safe. His stillness says, I feel you. For a woman, emotional depth transforms intimacy into something sacred. It is no longer about pleasure as a goal, but about connection as an experience. Her body becomes a bridge between two souls, and every touch becomes a language of belonging. In that sacred space, she wants to be met, not mastered, understood, not consumed. She opens not because she is taken, but because she feels invited. Her surrender is not weakness, it is trust in its most vulnerable form. The physical act might last minutes, but the emotional imprint can last a lifetime. The man who understands this knows that to touch her body is to touch her story, her fears, her hopes, her memories of being loved or betrayed. Every moment with her is a chance to heal or to hurt, to awaken or to wound. When emotional penetration happens, it is as if two inner worlds collide and merge, creating a space where both partners are seen beyond their facades. It is not the physical depth that moves her, it is the emotional resonance that lingers long after the touch has ended. The power of vulnerability is what gives intimacy its depth, its texture, and its truth. When a woman opens herself to a man, she is not only exposing her body but also revealing layers of her inner world that are rarely seen. In that moment, she stands at the intersection of desire and fear, the desire to be known and the fear of being hurt. Vulnerability is not easy for her. It is not natural to trust that her openness will be met with tenderness rather than judgment. But when she feels that her vulnerability is held, not exploited, something profound begins to unfold. Her body softens, her energy flows freely, and she allows herself to feel rather than to perform. For many women, intimacy is not about giving permission to be touched, it's about feeling safe enough to be seen. When she lets someone in, she is saying without words, I trust you with the parts of me that I don't even fully understand myself. This is not a small act, it is an act of immense courage. Her vulnerability is not weakness, it is a form of power that can only be accessed when she feels emotionally secure. To witness her in that state is to understand that pleasure is not just physical, it is deeply psychological and spiritual. When she surrenders, she is not losing control, she is allowing connection to take its place. The man who meets her in that space has the ability to either deepen her faith in love or confirm her fears about it. His presence, his sensitivity, his patience, all of these things determine whether her vulnerability blooms or retreats. If he rushes, she closes. If he listens, she expands. Her heart reads energy more fluently than her mind reads words. She feels whether he is there for the moment or for the meaning. When his touch is guided by empathy, she experiences pleasure not only as sensation but as affirmation that she is enough, that she is worthy, that she is safe to be real. Vulnerability is the bridge that turns physical connection into emotional intimacy. It is where she stops performing and starts feeling, where she no longer needs to hide behind her strength or her composure. It's in those moments, when she is fully seen without having to explain herself, that her pleasure becomes transformative. She is not surrendering to the man, she is surrendering to the truth of being fully alive, unguarded, and deeply felt. Safety and surrender are the invisible threads that weave together the fabric of true intimacy. For a woman, the ability to fully open herself, physically, emotionally, spiritually, depends entirely on how safe she feels in the presence of her partner. Safety is not about the absence of danger, it is about the presence of trust. It is the knowing that she can let go without fearing she will fall. When she feels safe, her body responds naturally, her emotions flow freely, and her energy rises with a quiet confidence that allows her to surrender without resistance. But when safety is missing, no amount of physical closeness can bridge the distance that grows between two hearts. Her body might be there, but her soul retreats behind invisible walls. Surrender is often misunderstood as weakness, but for a woman, it is the ultimate act of strength. To surrender is to let go of control, to release her guard, to trust that the person before her will not misuse the access she has granted. It is a choice that requires faith, faith in the man, faith in the connection, and faith in herself. When safety is present, surrender becomes a natural response, not a forced one. She opens not because she must, but because she feels drawn to. Her surrender is her way of saying, "I trust you to hold me, not hurt me." It is her body's language of emotional truth. A man's energy dictates the atmosphere in which a woman can surrender. His tone, his touch, his stillness all communicate something deeper than words ever could. When he is grounded, she relaxes. When he is distracted, she tightens. Her nervous system mirrors his, responding instinctively to his emotional presence or absence. This is why the man who understands safety is the man who understands depth. He knows that the more she feels secure, the more she can explore her own desires without shame or fear. Safety gives her permission to express the full range of her feminine energy, from the tender to the wild, from the gentle to the fierce. In that sacred balance between safety and surrender, intimacy transcends the physical act. It becomes a space where both partners can be undone and remade through trust. She does not surrender to be controlled, she surrenders to be seen, to be met in her truth without judgment. And in that space, her openness becomes not just an offering, but a reflection of the emotional safety she feels in his presence. A woman feels more through energy than through touch, more through presence than through performance. The way a man shows up in intimacy carries an unspoken vibration that her body instinctively reads. Energy does not lie, it reveals the truth of intention even when words are absent. When he is present, fully engaged with her and with himself, his energy feels steady, grounded, and open. It invites her to relax, to trust, to allow her own energy to unfold in response. But when he is disconnected, thinking, rushing, or lost in ego, she feels that dissonance like a cold current running beneath the surface. Her body may comply, but her spirit withdraws, because she senses when the act has lost its soul. Presence is not just about physical nearness. It is the quality of attention that communicates, "I am here with you." It's in the way his breathing syncs with hers, the way his eyes stay soft yet focused, the way he listens to her body as though it were speaking a secret language. Every gesture, every pause, every exhale becomes a message that tells her whether she is being seen or simply being used as a means to an end. A man who is present doesn't just touch her skin, he touches her essence. He feels not only for pleasure but for connection, reading her responses like poetry written in breath and heartbeat. When a woman feels true presence, she lets go of self-consciousness. She no longer worries about how she looks, how she moves, or how she sounds. Instead, she melts into the experience, because she can feel that her energy is being met and not manipulated. Presence creates safety, safety allows energy to flow. Her body begins to speak in sensations, her emotions rise to the surface, and she becomes more alive. This is when intimacy becomes art, two energies merging, two hearts listening, two souls moving in rhythm. Energy is the invisible dialogue of intimacy. It transcends technique or physical skill, it is the space between two people where authenticity breathes. A woman can feel when a man's energy carries tenderness instead of tension, patience instead of pressure, reverence instead of entitlement. What moves her most deeply is not the action, but the awareness behind it. When his presence is complete, she feels it as a current running through her body, a reminder that she is not alone in the experience, but profoundly connected to another human being who is equally awake within it. Every intimate moment carries a silent conversation, one that happens beyond words, beneath the surface of movement and breath. It is the unspoken dialogue that reveals how two people truly feel about each other, the honesty that their bodies speak even when their mouths remain quiet. When a man enters a woman's space, he is not just engaging in a physical act, he is entering a field of emotions, memories, and meanings that exist within her. Her body listens. It listens to the tone of his touch, to the rhythm of his breathing, to the pauses between his movements. It interprets everything as a message: am I safe? Am I valued? Am I seen? Or am I being used? This silent language shapes her experience far more than words ever could. In that space, she is not just reacting to what is happening, she is feeling the truth of it. If his energy speaks of care, she feels cherished. If his intention carries distance, she feels unseen. The unspoken dialogue between them is made up of microgestures: how his hands hold her, how his eyes meet hers, how his presence responds to her shifting energy. It is a conversation of awareness. Every sigh, every hesitation, every shift of breath becomes part of that exchange. When she feels that he is attuned, that he listens to her without needing her to speak, she opens even more deeply. She feels understood in a language that doesn't need translation. This silent conversation is also a mirror. It reflects the emotional truth between them. When there is harmony, it feels like a dance where neither leads nor follows but moves together as one. When there is disconnect, the silence becomes heavy, the rhythm fractured. She feels when he's performing instead of connecting, when he's chasing release instead of presence. Her body knows the difference between being touched out of desire and being touched out of devotion. The words may never be spoken, but the truth always resonates. In the unspoken dialogue, she also hears echoes of her own story: the longing to be accepted, the fear of being abandoned, the hope that this time, she will be fully met. A man who understands this listens not only with his body but with his empathy. He realizes that intimacy is not an act to perform but a truth to discover together. When he meets her in that quiet conversation, he speaks to the parts of her that words can never reach, and in that space, the act becomes something timeless, something that feels like being truly known.